Hello, and thanks for joining us today. This is Preston McNair with Sangoma, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and transfer the presentation over to Jim so he can get started.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. We're going to talk about enterprise mobility for FreePBX, and in particular, we're going to talk about how CounterPath Cloud Solution works with FreePBX to make it hopefully really easy to deploy and manage soft clients on any kind of device that your end users might have on a FreePBX system. Before we get right into it, we weren't sure that everyone who would be, everyone who's joining probably knows quite a bit about FreePBX. We didn't know if everyone would know just as much about CounterPath, so I'm going to very quickly go through a few what is CounterPath slides before we get into what is Bria Cloud Solution, how does it work with FreePBX, and then we're going to hopefully jump into a demo and kind of take your questions on what's possible, maybe implementation questions that people have or things that you're looking to do with it would be really interesting to hear back. So I'll get right into it. So CounterPath's a public company. A lot of people know our X Lite client, which is a free-to-use desktop client. We also have a suite of paid clients called Bria. Part of that is what we're talking about here. But we're a public company, really quite known as a bit of an industry standard around soft clients and soft phones on different devices. We also do have a really deep patent portfolio around VoIP and fixed mobile convergence and unified communications. The part of CounterPath that I take care of is our server product set. And there, we're not building a telephony server, like an Asterisk or like a FreePBX. More, we're building servers that add value to the clients, and we'll talk through a bit of what all of those do and how some of those are now available for everyone, especially people who want to who want to use FreePBX. Traditionally CounterPath sells through OEMs to mobile and enterprise providers, through service providers, and to enterprises. We also have a retail store. You can also find our applications on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store as well. I won't spend too much time on who we sell to. It's probably not, frankly, very interesting for everyone on the phone. I think people know CounterPath and know that we make clients for Mac, Windows, Linux, iOS and Android tablets, iOS, Android, and BlackBerry smartphones. In addition to that, we do make a set of server platforms that really deal in three areas. One is around management, so making the deployment process, the upgrade process, the troubleshooting process, things like voice quality monitoring possible with soft clients that people have deployed. The second set is around mobility. So we've got a push notification solution, contact discovery, call continuity solution as well. And then we've got a set of messaging products as well. So a SIP Simple server, an XMPP server, a way to do SMS over SIP. And of course all these server products work with our clients. So okay, so that's it for the overview. If you do have questions, let us know. I'm guessing more people are interested in what we're gonna talk about going forward. So what is CounterPath Cloud Solutions? So it's really a combination of our Bria STRETTO clients. So if you go to the app stores and look, you'll see a yellow client. That's our retail client that you can buy one at a time and configure inside the client. I'm sure a lot of people on the phone may have done that before. But then there's a red client. And the red client is really a managed client. And because of the way that the client works with our STRETTO servers, this is something that you can point someone who doesn't know anything about voice over IP, but knows that my login credentials are jobrien@counterpath.com, right? And I know my Windows domain password, or I know the password that the IT guy just emailed me to go get this VoIP solution. And that's it. I just log into the client. I just start using the client for voice, for video, for instant messaging, for SMS, whatever my company may be provisioning down. And then, the day that I buy a new smartphone, I just install it on the new smartphone. If I get a Windows machine, I put it on there. If I'm a Mac user, I put it on my Mac. That's really what this is. The way that we deliver this to people is that we sell it as software as a service, so it's really a subscription kind of business model. So there's not a lot of upfront cost. It's really a monthly per client fee that we're charging. And you can, of course, find all about it on our store. At the end of the deck, we've got a link. If you haven't already just Googled for it or searched for it to figure out what the pricing looks like. So around the clients, I said this before, but it's on everything except for Windows Mobile on smartphones. It's on iPads and Androids. It's on Mac, Windows. There's a Linux client, and we also have a VDI solution, which traditionally it's much more of a call center focused solution. But if people are running VDI configurations, we have a version of Bria that runs on VDI. It's quite interesting for that market. The other thing to note is that with these clients, you're not managing new versions. As we publish new versions, they go up on the App Store or they're available for the desktop clients, and they just get pushed down to the end users. So as CounterPath is publishing new clients and coming out with new versions, it's all just included. There's not an upgrade fee ever associated with this, and it's because it's a subscription model. So more about the desktop client, it's available for Mac and Windows. It's open standards based. It does SIP. It does high-def voice and video. It does SIP Simple and XMPP for messaging and presence. It supports MWI. It does TLS. It does SRTP. It does all the different kinds of firewall and NAT traversal standards that you'd be looking for. It does integrate with the Microsoft Outlook address book or the Mac address book. We include all the HD codecs that we offer, so 722, Opus, and Silk. We also include G729. It can be set up to do LDAP / Active Directory integration if you want to push contacts down there. And I'll say that if you're not using XMPP, right? Because XMPP is a really great way to push a roster of contacts down to the clients. And in a bit, I'll show you around at least the Mac version of the client, and I'll also pull up a mobile client that you guys can see. USB support for plug-and-play devices as well. Okay. So around for smartphones and tablets, it is distinct clients for smartphone and tablet. It's not oh boy, I forget the name of a Universal or something like that. It's a different layout for the tablet that really takes advantage of the real estate that we have, in particular around the messaging and the video features of the client. But iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, and then on tablets, iPad and Android Tab. It works over 3G, 4G, LTE, works over Wi-Fi. It's got all of the kind of phone features you would expect from us, all the codecs as well. I feel like I'm repeating myself because essentially it's the same slide with a different layout. So I won't do too much more on that. Great. So around the STRETTO provisioning platform, so what we've done is we've taken the STRETTO provisioning platform and really customized it for this market to make it, I'll say simple. It's always a bad word to use, but maybe straightforward is the better way to say it. There are about 300 settings that an administrator can set in the web portal of this STRETTO platform to influence the configuration of the clients. And your end users are not, I like to say, they don't know the 37 things about your network that you don't want them to know. They don't know the SIP proxy address. They don't know their SIP username. They don't know their SIP password. They don't know that you're using Stun. They don't know that you're using VP8 for video. All of that is provisioned down and configured for them, and they can't break it. Which is really nice. There are, we call them preferences available to them. So there are certain things like on a desktop, they can select their headset or audio input. So there are still settings, slash preferences that are available to the end user, but it's very much a separation of power between the administrator and the end user. Let's see, what else should I talk about? We also do have a feature that often is overlooked, but is really quite powerful. It's called device logs. So in all the Bria clients across all these platforms, there's a red button, and you can press it. It says send log. And for your end users, if they're having a problem, the best thing to do is say, go to the menu, go to the settings, and press send log. And when they do that, it sends up a log from the client to the STRETTO platform with kind of all the details of what they're running on. So they're on an iPhone 3, they're on an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus, or they're on a Motorola, or whatever handset it might be, whatever computer it might be. It gives you the specs of that box, as well as it gives you the configuration of the client at that moment, so you can see how that client was configured, what it was doing, and then it gives you 2 megs of SIP traces backwards from the time that they send the log. So it could be that they're doing something that's only the past hour, but it could be that that's the past 3 days. And that's sent up to the server and available to download as just a text file, so you can really dig in and look at what's going on in the network from the end user's perspective. I like to talk about the user that's at Starbucks and they think they're on Wi-Fi, but maybe they're not, or maybe they're hopping between Wi-Fi and LTE. It really gives you a great view of what's going on with that client at that moment when they're having a problem. So really, really quite powerful. We also have this end user portal capability, which lets end users manage the devices that they're using. So over time, people tend to switch smartphones, and so they need to go delete the old smartphone so they can add a new one if you've limited a particular user to, let's say, 2 devices, right? Because you don't want them running away and using the clients on 10, because you have to obviously pay the subscriptions. So that end user portal is a nice little feature as well. Okay, so when we talk about what we've done that's kind of fairly special with the I used to say SchmoozeCon, but with FreePBX and the Sangoma folks, is really what we've done is we've made it so that the user provisioning that's inside your FreePBX will provision the STRETTO server for Bria Cloud. So your users, and I've got some screenshots, but we're also going to jump into a demo. Each of your users, you can enable them for the Bria Cloud service. And then once you do, your PBX provisions Bria Cloud so that those users can just go download a red client and log in and use it. And really what I'd like to say is that we're enabling communications and mobility on any device, on any network, using that end user's company phone system. Some benefits, right? So it is immediate mobility, right? People can use any device, use any platform from their own phone system. We do support SIP as well as SIP and XMPP if you want to leverage messaging, which we think is really a great thing. The SIP is for voice, it is for video as well. It really is an easy to deploy solution. It takes all the complexity away from the end user. And for the administrator, there are often details to get into. You want to use in-band DTMF, that's a setting. You want to use these codecs and not those are settings. But often much of those, deployment questions are done right up front, right? That as the admin has set up their first account and is making it work for themselves, they're essentially building a template that makes it work for everyone in the company. At CounterPath, we all have Bria on all our devices. So, at some points during the day, 5 of my phones are in, right? And it's a little bit crazy, and I should probably not run on as many. But it really does enable people to work from wherever they are, and that really is a productivity increase. And the other great part about this is customers are not dealing with updates and upgrades that happen. CounterPath is managing all that on the different app stores and for the desktop and desktop clients as well. So that's it for the deck. Really, we're going to jump into a demo. and I want to kind of give a quick overview of the module inside of it's not a real PBX, it's my VM PBX, but I'll show you that. I want to look at user provisioning and want to show you how clients log in, and I was going to just show you quickly the CounterPath store as well. So let me pop it in there. Okay. So this is my VM FreePBX. The first place to jump and show you is really extensions. So I've got two extensions set up. If I click on this one, you can see that it's, where's the user here? Sorry, I should have it better. Link to user not Jim. If we go look at not Jim, you can see that if you enable the module, there's this new item in the user. So Bria Cloud Solutions enabled, yes or no. Very simple, right? And then there's the module admin page. Open up. Okay. So this is really what connects me into STRETTO. So you enter your admin account, and typically this is your email address. This is just my demo account. And then we give you a provisioning code that you get from us. And the extension prefix is if you're using a prefix for these soft phones. The IP address, and then really this is what comes back from the server. For this account, all your end users will log in with @3.freepbx.org, right? This might be the company's domain name. It could not be a domain name at all. It could just be a word or a couple words strung together. And then this shows you that you're connected in via the API. We've got 2 users total provisioned. There's no limit on the number of users. And then when we look at devices, this account has 24 desktops available, 18 phones, and 12 tablets. I haven't actually logged in with these users, Jim and not Jim, to make the stats show up nicely. But both these users are now provisioned up in the CCS. So if I flip over to there, you also do get a login account with CounterPath. Oops. Let me type that right. Oh, I didn't. Okay. So this is what STRETTO's admin looks like. So you can see that those 2 users are provisioned here. Their password to log in to the Bria clients is exactly the same as the user on your user portal. And then we track devices here, so the administrator can go in and delete different devices that they may have been using. Obviously, this is fairly empty. And you can configure end users to use SIP only or SIP and XMPP based on these profiles that are available. So I wanted to kind of bring up a client just to kind of give you a sense. So I'm going to log in with my corporate account. So I log in with my email address and then my password. And once I get logged in, so my accounts are enabling. So I can dial, right? I can dial our Echo server, 6140. I might be in a call. Not very interesting. This is our roster, so we use XMPP messaging internally. So if I click on Aaron, I can see Aaron's phone number, and I can see his, there's a couple phone numbers, his email address, his IM address. Kasha's on the phone with us today, so let me find Kasha on my list. I guess I could actually use the search. So you can see Kasha's on the phone. I could just message her from here and say hi, and she can say hi back when she gets a chance. And so you can do messaging. We also can have, you can have favorites. We've got call history. We can include a web page right in the client. This is that end user portal we talked about. But that's the ultra quick tour of the desktop client. Right. Obviously, I'm not showing you anything too interesting. So Kasha actually messaged me, and it came back to my mobile client. So let me pop my mobile client onto my screen here. Okay, great. So, I got the hello there, but I also got the hello back from her here. And so this is Bria on my iPhone. And you can see I've got the same list of, these are all the people I've been sending IM with today. You can see my call history. I called Preston quick before the call just to chat about some stuff. You can see I've got access to the native contacts on my phone. This is all Preston's info. As well as that buddy list that's pushed down by the CounterPath XMPP server. If we go over and look at settings, this is almost the most critically important part. I can't get, I can unregister and I can disable my SIP account, but I can't get in here and screw stuff up, right? The end user cannot break it, which is often a very important feature. Same thing around IM. I can disable my IM account. But I can see a little bit about it, right? Perhaps for troubleshooting, but I can't break the account. So that's the quick tour. I haven't been looking at the panel, so I'm probably going to see if there are any questions or if.
There are some questions. Had a few people asking about is there a Windows Mobile Bria client on the roadmap?
There's not yet one on the roadmap. I guess. A bit unofficially, we've taken a bit of a wait and see approach on the market share that Windows Mobile will get. It has not been overwhelmingly good, the trend there. So we don't yet have that on the roadmap for Windows Mobile. We do get the occasional request, but it hasn't been enough to push us to do the client.
Okay, and support for, I guess, different codecs. Currently, SIP is what we configure when you use the FreePBX distro. What about support for like IX or EX or IAX, however you want to pronounce it?
Yeah, we don't support IAX. We just support SIP.
Okay. A couple of questions surrounding encryption. Options, TLS, ZRTP, and HIPAA compliancy.
Yep. So we do support TLS for the SIP signaling. We support SRTP for the media. We do not support ZRTP in the clients today. On HIPAA compliancy, I don't have a ready answer for that. Kasha, do you know offhand? I'm guessing you don't either. Yeah, so that's definitely one. If they want to follow up with us, we could answer that. But I don't know that offhand.
When teaming with FreePBX, how voice codec can be set different for mobile device? Example, G729 compared to Wi-Fi or LAN connected PC. I guess using I guess looking to use a different codec depending on the type of connection.
Yeah, we absolutely do that. So you guys can still see my screen. Each of these profiles has, like I said, a couple hundred settings. So right now we're looking at the desktop codec settings. So we've got one list of desktop codec settings. So you can turn on or turn off all the, so BP8, H.264, Speak, Silk, Opus, iLibC, 263, if people still use that, 729, 22, and both 11s, broad voice. So for desktop, it's on or off, right? There's no transport kind of notion. Around mobile, we do have a transport notion. So mobile over the mobile network, meaning 4G, 3G, LTE, whatever it might be on that person's handset, we've got a set of codecs. And then same thing over Wi-Fi. So you could turn on or turn off different codecs based upon different transport. And the config on this group is actually old, which is my fault. We now actually let you control the priority. So we used to lock the priority in, and that's why these say priority 1 through 10. But now we actually let the end customer admin rank the codecs. Not that is totally deterministic, right? I'm sure we all love how SIP codec negotiation works, but at least from the client point of view, you can lock in the preference.
I guess there's a question about whether that someone needs to be a reseller of CounterPath to purchase this solution.
Yeah, so if you go to the CounterPath site, and then I got to shrink my thing here, go to Store,
Yeah, there were some questions surrounding pricing as well.
Okay, yep, so we'll sort that out pretty quick. And then when you find these red items, so that the prices are there, you click on one of them, and you can buy as many as you want. So you can say, I want to do a yearly subscription, and then I'd like, two of these, and two of those, something like that, and then purchase. We do have a minimum of 5 clients at this point. That's the only restriction. And so if someone's deploying a lot of different phone systems and they're looking for different accounts, essentially, Jim at customer 1 and Jim at customer 2, they're looking for different domains, then they would just sign up for different accounts for each of those systems, essentially. We did on the forums a while ago get a question about kind of using one account for multiple. And that is possible because of the way that the FreePBX provisions the users. It provisions the IP that the client should go to on a per user basis. So it is possible to do a bit of leveraging there if you wanted to have one account, at whatever URL, domain name you wanted, or just Word. But typically people would buy one per phone system that they're deploying.
How do you manage security? Can you log in from anywhere? Meaning, can you log in from any IP when you're on the road?
So from a SIP point of view, we're not really getting involved in that. It's the customer who sets up their FreePBX would set up their firewall to allow external SIP devices in, or they might deploy an SBC. Whatever they're doing from that point of view. If it means logging in and controlling the admin portion of things, that's all done through our store. So you log into our store account, and from there you can get into the admin site to control things outside of what the API is doing to provision your users.
Yeah, does my PBX have to be public-facing, so for the Bria clients to reach my server? So yes, you do have to, I can answer that, yes, you do have to open up some type of access, whether it's through your firewall, or if you were to be interested in a Sangoma SBC, we can configure that through those as well.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess unless everyone was in the building, right, and then you wouldn't necessarily need that. But for most deployments, especially when you talk about mobiles, obviously, they're out on the rail network, so you do need to provide that access. Yeah.
Yep. So there's another question about the potential of adding BLF keys. I'm not sure if they're referencing on the desktop client or on the Android or iOS clients. I don't believe you have BLF keys currently, do you?
We don't have BLF keys right now. We are doing some work on BLF in another context that may drive us towards that in the next period of time, but it's not an immediate thing. So, no.
Right. And is there VPN support built in, meaning can you trigger a VPN connection in iOS instead of opening up FreePBX to SIP connections?
We can't. We can't auto, especially on iOS, we can't auto open the VPN, but we can use the VPN if it's there. So if someone launched the VPN themselves and then they start up the client, if the VPN's there, we will use it, but we can't auto open it.
And does chat run over PBX or softphone? Well, when you install using the FreePBX distro, we do install a instant messaging platform, and it's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim. That when you set it up out of the box, it's going to set up to utilize that for your instant messaging.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that if people are using your XMPP module on FreePBX, then FreePBX will provision them to use both SIP and XMPP for messaging. So I guess the answer is both, because it's not that the clients talk to the XMPP server that is in FreePBX. We also work with other XMPP servers if someone had something different.
Yep. But that would be configured on the STRETTO side.
Right. You guys would not configure that piece for them. Yep. or the API would not do that for me.
Can you register a Bria soft phone and a physical hard desk phone to the same account in FreePBX? Actually, that's kind of how it, if you saw in his demonstration, the existing extension already had a registration. And what happens in FreePBX is when you enable that in the user management module, it creates a duplicate extension, and we automatically configure an instant follow me so both devices will ring at the same time. If you see the extension prefix, so if your extension is 4001, when you enable Bria, it's going to create an extension of 999-4001 in this instance. Okay, is there any callback option in clients? You might be on the road and prefer to get PBX to call your mobile and connect certain calls.
So there's not a callback option like that. No, I think in the PBX you have a find me, follow me, right?
Yeah, and there is an option when you configure it with, say on my Android, when I configure it there, it actually auto configures a UCP window as well. And from within UCP, the user control panel, which is responsive and mobile friendly, there is an originate option, and you can have that originate call go back to a mobile. So it's not really a Bria thing, a Bria client thing, but that is an option in the user control panel to originate calls, and you can have and define what destination you want that to go to, whether it be your cell phone or your desktop phone. And I guess the final question that I see is, how can one use the FreePBX module to configure extensions when registering Bria clients to an SBC? I know from the Sangoma side, we'll be coming out with some documentation on that fairly shortly. And I think that's about it for questions. Thanks a lot, Jim, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Preston. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.